Hi, welcome back to Connected Mobile Life. This is the start of a series to upgrade the power systems in my 2018 Pleasureway Ascent. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I've been working towards eliminating or minimizing greatly the reliance on propane. I just find propane kind of a hassle to get, so I'd rather not deal with it. So in order to do that, I've been switching everything over from propane to either electric or diesel. So far I've included or installed a diesel heater. I've replaced the refrigerator with a compressor refrigerator. Those have been working out fantastic. The diesel heater is much more efficient and much more capable of heating this van in the winter than the propane ever was, and very power efficient and fuel efficient. Likewise, the compressor refrigerator, night and day difference in just consistency of cooling and just ease of maintenance. It's just been a terrific upgrade. In order to support these systems a bit better, I want to increase the battery capacity in the van. To do that, I've chosen the Lithionics 315 amp battery system. I'm going to start off with one, and I'll eventually probably add a second once I get some experience with it. First step though, before I can do that, the charging systems in the 2018 Ascent aren't compatible with the Lithionics charge system. They need to be charged at up to 14.4 volts. And you've got, in the 2018 Ascent, you've got an older GoPower solar charge controller that doesn't have a lithium setting even. And it charges directly from the alternator, and I've seen voltages range anywhere from 13.4 to 13.8. It never quite gets up to 14 volts, so certainly not sufficient to fully charge the batteries. So what I'm going to do is start off with upgrading the solar charge controller to an MPPT Victron smart controller, which I have here. In order to do that, what I'll do is I'm going to build basically a small wooden plate to cover over where the existing solar controller is, and then mount the Victron to that in the short term. Long term, since I've already put in a diesel heater, I'd really like to remove the propane heater out of the Ascent. I just haven't gotten up to the point of comfort of removing major systems from the van quite yet. Once I get there, I will. The long-term plan is to put the solar controller in that cavity where the propane heater is, and also the Lithionics battery. But for the short term, I'm going to put the solar controller where the current solar controller is, and the Lithionics battery will go in the back next to where the current lithium batteries are. So a few reasons I want to go with Lithionics. I originally started off researching just adding additional Pleasureway batteries, the same batteries that come with your Pleasureway Ascent. Unfortunately, you can't buy them anywhere, and Pleasureway won't sell them to you. I tried for a couple months trying to convince them just to sell me two more, so I could go to 400 amp hours on the batteries. There are a couple places in the back there where those batteries will sit very nicely and take a very minimum amount of your storage area, but unfortunately I couldn't get them. So then when I started looking at options, the Lithionics just has a very nice footprint. You get 315 amps in about the footprint of 200 amps of the existing batteries. So it's a very high density power cell. Other benefits of this upgrade are going to be that it's got a built-in heater. So currently I live in an area that does get below freezing, and I use the van year-round. So I always have to be concerned about the temperature of the van and the temperature of the batteries. So in a previous video, I installed the Victron battery meter with the temperature gauge and alarm, so that when I got into the van, I could tell, I could look and see what the battery temperature is before I plugged it into charge, before I took off on a trip. So nice thing, I won't have to deal with that anymore. The Lithionics battery just regulates its own temperature, and you don't have to worry about it. The BMS will cut off the battery when it reaches a point of potential damage, either it's too hot or too cold. Another benefit of the Lithionics is it has a much higher current draw capability. So the current batteries in the Pleasureway are rated at 150 amps peak. They recommend 100 amps of usage. And I have noticed using the batteries that come with the Pleasureway, just using the microwave will shut down the BMS. So if you have a couple things plugged in, you try and use the microwave, especially if the battery has been drawn down a bit, the microwave will start up and then immediately shut down. And you have to kind of wait, let the battery sort of come up a little bit, turn off, maybe unplug your laptop, and then the microwave will run. That shouldn't be a problem with the Lithionics system. It has a much higher instantaneous current handling capability. First step I'm going to do is I'll do the MPPT solar charger upgrade, so that everything needs to charge the Lithionics at 14.4 volts. So I'll be putting in the Victron MPPT Solar Controller to tune to 14.4 volts, a DC to DC converter. So I'm going to basically migrate from the alternator charge, direct charge that they have currently in the van, to a DC to DC charge controller, so I get the right charge profile going to the Lithionics. And then the last step is going to be a shore power charging system putting in. So first step I'm going to do is I've got an 80 amp version of the charge controller or the AC charger that's already in the Pleasureway. I'm going to swap that in as a short-term fix. Unfortunately, the voltage is a little too high, and it also it's also a very basic charger. It charges up to about 14.6, 14.7, and then stays constant. It doesn't back off to a float charge. And some of you might argue that lithium doesn't need a float charge, but if you talk to Lithionics, you shouldn't just charge this thing up to 14.4 and hold the charge voltage at that point. You want to back it off to, I think it's 13.6. I'll have to check the specs on that on the Lithionics data sheet. So short term, I'm just going to use the Progressive Dynamics charger that I have. Probably down the line, I'm going to look at swapping out the inverter in the Ascent as well. The Xantrex 2000 watt that's in here currently is just an inverter. They currently make an inverter charger that can be programmed to be compatible with the Lithionics battery. So I'll be doing an upgrade to that as well. And then I'll eliminate the AC charger in the back, freeing up some space. And then the Xantrex will charge that at 100 amps. So that'll give me a fast charge, that'll be especially important when I go to 2 Lithionic batteries. All right, let's get started. Solar controller, we'll start that update in this video, and then look for future videos on the DC-DC charge controller, the Lithionics upgrade, and the air conditioner soft start upgrade coming up. So let's get started. So I've taken the solar controller out, and it had the wires mounted here. What I'm doing is, to make things easier, so I'm installing these Anderson power pole connectors onto the ends of the cables that were part of or connected up to here. So it was red, white, blue, and black. So red and white go to the DC power, blue and black are to the solar panels. And then what I've done on the new solar controller, I've just put short cables with the Anderson power poles on here as well. So I intend to rewire this again. So just to make things a little easier, I'm just going to make them snap in with these Anderson power poles. The ones that I'm using here are rated for 10 gauge wire and 45 amps. So more than enough for everything we'll be handling in this on this controller, since it's new controller is going to only be 20 amps, which is more than enough for the 190 watts on the roof. So I'm going to just finish crimping these on and snapping on the shrouds, and then I'll put the new controller in. Okay, so just to be able to extend this, what I've done is this is the black and blue wire from the solar panels on the roof, and I've color coded this with yellow. So any wires with yellow are associated with solar on this on the wiring. So instead of connecting this directly to the controller, what I've done is I've run 2 sets of wires down into the refrigeration area, and then I've connected the panels to one of the wires that I've labeled panel, and then this is the controller. It'll go to the controller going in. And what I'm going to do is down in the refrigeration area, I'm going to have a patch panel, so I'm going to be able to connect those 2 together to connect the rooftop panels into the controller. And then alternately, what I'll be able to do is disconnect the solar from the roof and plug in an external panel that I can then remote. I have a 200 watt Goal Zero folding panel that fits behind the driver's seat that'll I can swap in place of the rooftop when I'm in the shade. So that's what I've done. And yeah, ultimately, when I redo this the way I actually want to do it, is I'm going to relocate this panel down underneath the refrigerator anyway, so these wires are going to be critical. I'll just drop those down and connect it directly to the controller, where the furnace is now, once I get to the point of removing that. So anyway, this is my external panel connection system. Okay, so here we are. This is with the solar controller mounted on the wall. Our adapter plate blends in pretty well with the woodwork. A little bit of an eyesore out here, but at the moment I don't care. I mostly want to get to the a bit more efficient charging, and also gives me better visibility into how much charge I'm getting with some of the information that I can get from the Victron software. Also gets me an external solar panel now, so I think definitely looks good. I'm looking forward to when I get and remove the propane furnace and relocate it down there, but good for now. This is a view from the lower refrigerator compartment. This is where I've got the 2 cables coming out. So this is where the rooftop panels are, and I've just got the connection to the solar controller into an extension cable that then runs around to the back of a folding Goal Zero 200 watt solar panel. Very, very nice compact 200 watt panel. I'm getting about 175 watts out of this right now in the sun, and fits behind the driver's seat. Really convenient. So I should be able to remote with this cable. This is a 25-foot cable, so I should be able to find sun even when I'm in the shade somewhere. And then when I just want to enable the roof connectors, I'll just connect this up to here and just use the roof panels. I'll do another video on how I intend to parallel these so that I can run the roof and the 200 watt panel. I'll need to add a second 20 amp controller for that, which I plan to do back here. So basically what I'll do is run a second controller, have the connector come out of there. I need to figure out a good way to expose this connector, without having to remove the panel. My long-term plan I keep mentioning is to remove the propane furnace since I installed the diesel heater. And then what I'm thinking I'll be able to do is remove this and put a plate here with probably one of those ZAMP solar connectors here, so that it's waterproof. I'll just undo that, hook the external panel there, and then off I go. All right, that's the external view. Here's an update on the external install. I put in an Anderson junction box here, so I can have I have both the controller wire and the roof solar panel wires plugged in, so they're connected through the block. And then I've also got this adapter cable here so that I can plug a solar panel up to this directly, so I can parallel the external panel with the rooftop panels. It's been working out really well. I was just out and ran the 200 watt panel in parallel with 190 watts on the roof you get about 80% efficiency on the panels, so it's just within the 20 amps of the controller. So I don't actually need a second controller. So I was pulling about 17 amps into the system with the combined solar capacity. So really simple install. Highly recommended.